to you from the Wild Wild West, Tapped Out Wrestling Network Studios brings to you Shooting with Eric Stanton.
Welcome to Shooting with Eric Stanton. I am, as always, Eric Stanton. Oh, full clip, and it's time to start shooting. I just got to thank everybody for completely understanding that my show has been MIA for the last 2 weeks. And what started it, I got sick. I lost my voice. I wanted to record. I wanted to put the show out late. None of those things seemed to kind of fall in line. My voice stayed really crappy going into the holidays. And then by that point, me and Nick kind of talked it over. And he was nice enough to just kind of let me recover, enjoy my holidays, which I went and visited family. It was a good time. It was a good Christmas. I had some time to rest, recuperate. My voice is much better now, as you can tell. And hopefully, I am one of the first podcasts you're listening to this 2017. And hopefully, it will be a better year. Let's make the 21st century better again. So, starting off this time, well, I feel so much better with my voice now as compared to the last 2 weeks, because it was still sore last week. But it was a good holiday season. I got some good, wrestling shirts. I got to watch TNA's Total Deletion. I caught up on some news and rumors. Talked to some people, made some big plans, have some things coming down the line. It's good stuff. I was unfortunately, due to the sickness in my throat, I was unable to record the Bola 2016 episode. I will make a commitment to getting that done. I also need to catch up on like a month's worth of NXT. I'm really far behind in this job. But that just means more for me to talk about moving forward. We've got NXT San Antonio coming up, which is going to be huge. That's going to be good stuff. We've got Royal Rumbles around the corner, and of course I'm going to get questions about that. We're about to start the road to WrestleMania, which is going to be plenty of news and rumors about, and again, more questions about that. We're going to have more call-ups, guys from NXT going to WWE. But I know everyone is really excited to hear what I have to say about the Total Deletion. And I did watch it. I watched it in its entirety. I promise you. I didn't do highlights. I didn't skip nothing. I watched every second of that show. And I will discuss it. But before we get into that, 205 Live. I want to jump on to 205 real quick. I'm really happy with the recent events of 205 Live. Neville returns, which that's great for not only for Neville, that's even better for 205 because they brought him back, and they brought him back solidified as a heel, which is so good for the product because they really they needed a top end star. B, they needed a top end star that could be a heel. At the time it was kind of Kendrick, and Kendrick is good. He's not a bona fide star. He's past his prime. He's still a great player. I'm not slighting on the guy. I'm not saying that he's not 205 main event talent. He's a 13, 14 year WWE veteran at this point. His better years are behind him as far as his career goes, as far as NXT and WWE. And that doesn't mean there's not good storylines for him to have and good feuds for him to have. But they really needed a guy of tomorrow, and you couldn't have found a better person than Neville. I mean, quite honestly. He had a pretty good 2016 up until he got injured. He had some good backing going into it. Teaming with Stephen Amell with that Stardust feud. So, I mean, he had some clout moving in. The company was behind him. And his move to 205 could only mean great things for 205. And I feel like when it changes the entire outlook of the program. It changes the entire outlook I had for the program. I had listed weeks prior in previous episodes my top guys for 205. Well, that completely changed. Neville is now the star of that show, hands down. You have Neville as the top heel, which it needed. And if you do it properly, if you build correctly, you're going to have a really, really good... I mean, you could carry this through half the year, if not most of the year. Neville feuding with Cedric Alexander, which can have some great matches. Some match of the year candidates. Feud of the year could absolutely happen. These guys are both talented enough. They're in great shape. They're both in phenomenal shape. Cedric can be the top babyface of the company. They can still bring in Austin Aries at some point if they want to. They don't have to, but they can. And, if they ever wanted him to go back, baby, but I don't see that just because he's really better as a heel. And you can kind of set him on the back burner for now. He can still work NXT. He can do feuds there. You don't have to throw anyone under 205 right at 205. So that's always a good thing. I wish they wouldn't have weight classed it. And I certainly wish they wouldn't have weight classed it so low, but still, it's a good product. I mean, really, Cedric Alexander and Neville could be a match of the year candidate just because those guys are both phenomenal wrestlers. They're going to get some really good build. This could lead to some good pay-per-view matches, some good tag team matches. There's a lot to work with in those two. There's a lot to build off of. There's just so much that can be done with it. I mean, both men are great athletes. I'm really excited for this. I'm really excited to see where it goes. I'm really excited that Neville's the top heel. I love Rich Swann. But it's kind of felt like since they introduced Cedric Alexander that everybody else was on borrowed time in the meantime. And I still like TJ Perkins. I think it's a shame that Vince doesn't understand his gimmick, but I think TJ Perkins is a talented individual and he has a place in that top spot. He just needs a solid feud right now, and you don't really have too many really solidified heels outside of Neville. Not realistically. I mean, Daivari, but that's cheap heat kind of heelishness. You need bona fide heels. You need a couple more, like, journeyman savant guys. So, I would probably feud TJ Perkins with Daivari, personally, but anyway, this is not fantasy booking time. Going back earlier, I mentioned TakeOver San Antonio's coming up. We do have a confirmed Shinsuke Nakamura defending against Bobby Roode, which that was to be expected. I feel like they're jumping into it just a little too quick. There's a concern that it might be... My concern is Roode winning at San Antonio and Nakamura debuting next night on Royal Rumble. That is a legitimate concern I have. I don't want to see him get rushed into the road to WrestleMania. Especially not, because I have the belief that Finn Balor is going to return at the Rumble, and I just don't think it's going to benefit Nakamura. I hope they just maintain, because you don't want too many surprise returns at Rumble. I kind of have the feeling Joe's also going to debut at the Rumble, which, again, you don't want to do too many guys because you don't want to undervalue Joe's debut on top of Balor's return. But there's ways to do it and it can be fine. Hopefully Joe comes in early so it's justifiable that he goes out and Balor comes out like middle of the pack type of deal. I'm really hoping for Balor return because I'm a huge Finn Balor fan. It was unfortunate he got injured when he won the belt. So I am looking for him to come back, return at the Rumble, win the Rumble, and start his road to WrestleMania against Kevin Owens as champion. That's what I would like to see. I think those two would have a great match. Well, we know they'll have great matches because we saw it in NXT. But still. Then you have the Authors of Pain. They're going to take on #DIY, which that goes back to that Dusty Classic. The Authors taking a cheap win over DIY. We discussed that before, so that's exciting. That'll be good matches. It's good stuff for the Authors because they're the they're the more inexperienced team of the bunch. Even though they have done a really good job up to this point, they've really been protected. They haven't looked as green as they seem. So, a lot of good stuff there. So, that's exciting. I don't think any major title changes are going to happen at TakeOver San Antonio, honestly. I don't think Shinsuke's going to lose to Bobby Roode. Or if he does, it's not going to be for the title. I think it's going to be dirty or, you know, a smokescreen, a count out, just something to continue on and move forward to the next NXT at WrestleMania. Because I'd imagine the next TakeOver will probably be at WrestleMania. I can't see why not. I was a little taken back that they decided to put the next TakeOver at the Rumble. And that kind of threw me off a lot. I wasn't expecting one so soon that we just had one not that long ago, like a month ago. And then you gotta wonder what's going on with the women's division and Asuka. I think Peyton Royce is moving into that spot. Anyway, we're gonna get more into that later. There are some questions for NXT moving forward. There's a lot of who's gonna take what spots, who's gonna get the respective bone, so to speak, moving forward, who's gonna be given the ball to run with it, that kind of jazz, that kind of thing. So, there's plenty of NXT stuff coming up down the line. I don't want to spend too much time on that. I don't want to take up what everybody has been waiting for because the tweets went out. Can't wait to hear what Eric Stanton has to say about the total deletion. Now, I love Matt Hardy. First and foremost, I do like TNA. I know I rip on it a lot, and I do. It's because I want it to be better. There is issues with it as far as like consistency and storyline booking. There are issues with it, I feel, in my humble opinion, with the wrong guys not being... You don't have the right people together in the right feuds. I don't feel like they've been putting their best foot forward. That's just me. That's my belief. There's nothing more I can say about it other than that. I just really feel like TNA's not utilizing its resources properly because they have a ton of talent. They have lots of talented guys. And at the total deletion, I saw a lot of people that I, on the indie scene, really enjoy. So there was some cameos there that I was just like, "Aw, nice, good stuff." And I'm gonna get to that in a minute as we're gonna go down the show. But there was some moments in there where it was just like, all right, I'm feeling this. I'm liking it. I like what you got. I like who you brought in. Now I will say this before I get into the show. There was this huge promise of like contracts will be broken and all these big name people will be here, and that, before I get into the show, that's why I'm doing this now. I'm gonna say now, they dropped the ball on that promise because there wasn't that many people of significant name that really showed up. It was mostly TNA guys. There were some indie guys, but nobody, there was no Young Bucks. There was no Briscoes. England's been really hot lately. There was nobody from England that I feel like there was people that could have been you. I'm really sad there was no Will Ospreay. I'm really sad there was no Marty Scurll. I know he just signed with Ring of Honor, but that's kind of what I expected when Matt sat there and said, well, contracts will be broken and there's going to be a lot of guys here and this is going to be a place that this is going to set a standard at this total deletion that TNA is really setting the bar because people are going to break their contracts to come here to be a part of this event, and it's going to be this really big deal. And I feel like they dropped the ball on that. Now, this is not me being mean to TNA. This is not me trashing on it. This is just, they made a promise and they didn't deliver. They did not bring in anybody significant. If anything, it leads more credence to Ring of Honor, where at Final Battle, Matt Hardy showed up, challenged the Bucks of Youth, the Young Bucks, to a feud, and you're going to get that in Ring of Honor. So it really, to me, and I feel like to any fan, should kind of state, okay, well, TNA's not the place to be. Ring of Honor's the place to be. because we're going to have this feud, and it's going to be in Ring of Honor, and it's going to be on their TV or their pay-per-views, most likely. It's absolutely going to be on their pay-per-views because you saw them on Final Battle. So we know with Ring of Honor, they're promoting it this year. The Hardys and the Young Bucks. So, on the forefront of contracts will be broken, there was nobody from WWE. There was nobody from NXT. Just nobody. There was nobody that wasn't unaffiliated or already affiliated with TNA. Now, I know some people are going to be like, well, they had this and they had that, and I'll get to that as I go down the card, because we'll get to that. Calm down, relax, calm. Just I can hear you on the other end. I can feel you, like, oh, but so and so and this person and they did the thing. Calm down. I'm getting there. Just relax. So the show started out. Well, the one thing I will say, the production value is neat. Now, the stage was really cool. I dug the stage. That looked really neat. I still feel like the audience of like 20 people, there was like maybe 50 people in that audience, in that one little corner of the warehouse, because that's what it is. It's a warehouse. It's a warehouse in the back of his yard, in his backyard. They were hotter than any other Impact audience I've seen that they've done at the recordings in Orlando at Universal Studios. At this point, my firm belief, I feel like they need to move recordings to North and South Carolina. I feel like they need to start doing venues there. I feel like they would have a much more engaged audience. It would help the product. It would help the company. It would help their image. You need to get away from Orlando. You need to get away from Universal Studios. You're getting this audience that is not overly into Impact. There's a lot of canned heat, which for those that don't know, that's they basically take an audio guy and he feeds in these chants that they get at other places, and it's fake. It's not real. It's not really an entire crowd chanting. You know, the only legitimate chants that are probably going on at an Impact taping are the delete chants. I'm not saying there's not chants, but they're not to the level that you expect, like where an entire WWE arena is chanting yes or what or this, that, and the other. I really believe that Impact utilizes a lot of canned heat, which there's nothing wrong with that in cases, but if you're having to do it for the majority of the show, then you're not in the right place audience-wise, and it's obvious because when you watch the show, you see the front audience, they're chanting sometimes, but the back audience never is. They're just kind of standing there, and they're kind of all over the place, and they're not paying attention. And it looks bad from a production standpoint, from a viewership standpoint, from an audience standpoint, from a fan standpoint. It just doesn't look good that your live audience is not really into what's going on. They're just kind of there, but they're not actively involved. Like, NXT does not suffer from this. That NXT crowd, no matter where they're at, is always into the show, from the nosebleeds to the front section. So, NXT has already proven you can do small venue and have a good, believable, fun experience for the audience, for the viewer. And I feel like the best way to get that is in North and South Carolina, where the Hardys are beloved. They're a national treasure. So my belief is you flip between those areas. You do that road. Because you know that's really the audience you're trying to get anyway. Realistically, the audience you're trying to get on TV is the old diehard WCW audience. You're trying to catch some of the Ring of Honor people by, signing a lot of the Ring of Honor guys. I feel like you need to run the Carolinas, Georgia circuit and do those venues and those arenas, because that area likes that kind of wrestling. And you're going to get a better audience. And they're going to be much more engaged in the product that you have. That's why TNA loves to do their tapings, and they do tons of tapings over in England, because the England audience is awesome. I love watching any show in England because those fans are some of the takeovers were really good. I know on the state side, a lot of people were like, oh man, they're so loud and they just need to chill out a little bit and this, that, and the other. No, those audiences are great. They're a lot of fun to watch. They're a lot of fun to get involved with, because you don't have the wrestlers fighting with that audience like, hey, you're hijacking the show, like Jericho tends to do with live audiences on Raw and SmackDown, and that's because of bad booking and other reasons, and I'm not getting into all that. This is 2017, new year, new me. We're not doing it. But when the crowd is just loud for the sake of being into it and they're supporting every match and every worker, that's because they like what's going on. They're supporting you. They're not hijacking the show. So, I don't like it when people are like, oh, those British crowds, they're just too loud. They need to chill out. Like, no, they're having a good time. And if they really don't like something, they will let you know, but they're not gonna crap on everything just for the sake of crapping on it. Like, my example for that is Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor for the Universal title. The audience shit all over that. They shit all over it. Because of the title. The title looked like trash. Look, I get it. I'll be the first one to admit, different color title belts that all look the same, I'm not a fan of it. I understand why they're doing it. UFC does it. UFC has all gold belts that all say UFC and all their champions have the same belt. I get why WWE's doing it. I don't agree with it. I don't like it. But that's what they're choosing to do. And that's fine. That's their business. That's their right. So that's, again, this is also why I cover NXT and TNA. Because I prefer these promotions. Realistically, I do prefer TNA to main brand WWE, even though I am interested in what SmackDown's been doing lately, because they are doing good things, they have good talent. I'm still disappointed I'm not seeing more Vaudevillains, though. I need me some more Simon Gotch in my life. Anyway, I got derailed a little bit, but that was kind of my point, is TNA needs to kind of spend more of their time in that southeast, that eastern corner, get away from Universal Studios, because that crowd of 50 was really hot while they were on screen. And granted, yeah, they're friends and family of Matt, or just locals that know him and friends with them. But still, I feel like a crowd in Charlotte would do so much better for TNA than the crowd in Orlando. That's just my personal belief. I would move operations to North Carolina, travel to South Carolina, do Georgia. You can still go to England for this, that, and the other, especially for pay-per-views. That's what I would do. I'd go to England for pay-per-views, because that's where you could really use that rabid England audience, or for your pay-per-views, because you're still trying to live off the pay-per-views. You don't have a TNA network, not yet. You have the Fight thing, which I don't think they're quite completely set up on that yet, so we'll see where that goes, but they're pushing it. I've seen the sponsorships on Facebook. Anyway, they start the show. We're going to get to it. I'm finally getting to it. I'm sorry. They started the show, Rockstar Spud. I still stand. Rockstar Spud needs some attention. And if Matt really booked this, you can tell how much Matt likes Rockstar Spud, because he got himself an opponent. He got put up against Matt Hardy's son, King Maxwell. King Maxwell had his in-ring debut at the sterling age of, I think, 2 years old. So Spud does the job. Granted, he got tased by Senor Benjamin, and it is a Matt Hardy total deletion, broken brilliance. I wasn't a fan of it, just because I really like Rockstar Spud. I feel like he needs to be treated better. That program tells me that Matt trusts him, though. He trusts him to be in the ring with his son. So hopefully that can lead to some better stuff for 2017, because Rockstar Spud is a bona fide star. The guy is great. He's probably one of the best they have on the mic. He's great in the ring. His personality is solid. And he's part of that London, England pack that they brought in, and he's just really good. And he needs to be in a better spot. I really still feel like he needs to be the X Division champion, just because you're already committing all this airtime to him anyway. Your current X Division champion, I've not seen him. I've seen him twice in 6-man tag matches. So that tells me he's not... Since I started watching, he's not been on TV that much. I've seen a ton of Rockstar Spud. Put the belt on him. Anyway, moving on from that tangent, because I know I've had that tangent before. Sienna versus ODB. Vanguard 1 comes out. Oh, Sienna makes an open challenge for anybody, so she can become, I don't know, the number 1 contender or something. I don't know, it was confusing. it was confusing. I think it was number one contender or interim champion or something. That one was a little confusing. I just know Vanguard 1 came out, and they were like, no, you can't challenge, you can't fight a woman in a match. So Vanguard 1 leaves, and ODB comes out, which she was one of the special guests because she hasn't been on TNA for a while. So it was like a TNA original coming back, and that was neat. I'm not the biggest fan of ODB. I don't dislike her. She's a good worker. I'm just not a fan of the gimmick. That's just me. It's a personal thing. Just she's never really done anything for me. I can see the value in the character. I can see how you can use her. I can see how she's a trusted worker, good, reliable person. So I get all that. It's just the character's not my kind of thing. It's not what I'm. It's not my flavor. Every creator, every promoter, booker has their taste. So please don't slam me for my particular individual interest. I'm just not a fan of the character. But Sienna's good. They had a good match. Sienna picks up the win. ODB takes the loss. She's still a solid worker, so good stuff. Promo to premonition. Matt Hardy goes on, someone will be reincarnated. Lots of Omega jokes and references that only diehard people like myself will understand, because I've seen almost all of Matt Hardy's documentaries. I can talk, I swear to God. Documentaries, so I'm very aware of Omega. I've seen a lot of their matches. I'm a big fan of a lot of their original talent. There's a lot of their original talent that I'm a big fan of, actually. And they're running shows again. I think they've had like 3 or 4 shows now at this point. So I'm a pretty big fan of Omega. So there was some jokes in there that I was just like, oh, I got it. Most people won't get that, but I got it. So it was good stuff. But again, it is jokes that a lot of people were just like, they're not going to get it because they've never seen Omega. They may never have heard of Omega. And then you have a match, Itchweed, which is one of Jeff's multiple characters, versus Chet Sterling. I will say this. I like Chet Sterling. He was good. It was the first time I've seen him, but he was solid. He really sold what he was doing very well. He sold the confused. He's a solid worker. I'd like to see more of him. Hopefully they kind of pick him up, because he was one of the ones that I really liked on the show. I don't understand why Jeff had a second character, and I don't understand why he pulled double duty. Especially for something, again, going back to a contract's going to be broken, we're going to have all these people here, and you ended up not having anybody, and not anybody like on that level. And Jeff had to pull double duty and do 2 matches. I just don't understand the Itchweed thing. Jeff's not Mick Foley with multiple gimmicks. I know he's, the charismatic enigma, and he's this character within a character within a character. Again, it's not a me thing. This is not into it. He's got too many gimmicks going on right now, with being the obsolete mule to Matt, then being Itchweed, and it's a whole lot of stuff that's not, again, coherent, doesn't make sense, don't know why it's happening other than Jeff just wanted it to happen. I don't know. I was confused. I was not a big fan of the Itchweed moment. I like Chet. Chet Sterling was solid. And I wish I could have got him in a match, seen him in a match with somebody else, or maybe him put over Rockstar Spud. But that didn't happen, so this is what we got. Then you get Bobby Lashley versus Eddie Edwards. World title match. Just more matches that didn't really make sense. And, that's my issue with this. A lot of this show just didn't make sense. Other than just building up to the tag team Apocalyptico. But why were they wrestling again? Don't we have a number 1 contender at this point? I thought we did. Maybe I'm wrong. Who knows with TNA. But we had, you can't slide it because they're both great workers. They worked each other enough times at this point. So you at least know they're going to go out there and have a good match. But on the same token, this is a highly produced show. It's extremely edited. There's lots of cuts. I mean, it really, it completely diversifies itself from what the main product is. where it's supposed to be a linear wrestling show that everything happens in order. Whereas there's a lot of cuts, there's a lot of jumping back and forth. It was more like a TV show. This is one of the few times where watching a wrestling show and I felt like I was watching a TV show instead of a wrestling show. I felt like I was watching like CSI Miami or CSI North Carolina, and it just happened to be at Matt Hardy's house to film it for whatever reason. You know, just that's the vibe I got from this. I like the talent. I like some of the matches. But like, this was another one. It wasn't necessary. There was no build up to it, and it seemed like the main product was trying to move away from these two feuding, and then they just brought it right back. And it happened here at the compound, and it seemed like it was supposed to be like closure or closing the feud, or I don't understand the purpose it served, realistically. I don't know why it was there. They had a good match for a while, and then they had this really good spot where Bobby Lashley like spears him through the warehouse wall. So that was solid. And then they just kind of jumped all over this is where this match never even finished. This match didn't even finish. This match cut. They went to commercial. They came back and started the tag team Apocalypto, which, love the name for that, by the way. I absolutely love the tag team Apocalypto. That was probably one of the funnest things of the show for me. It was a lot of fun. It was a good time. I enjoyed the build up to it. I was really excited throughout the entire card for this. I loved the vignettes leading up to it of like the Rock and Roll Express showing up. Now granted, I've shared a locker room with these guys, but it was still really neat. Like, I felt like a kid again. Like, despite the fact that they're older and, you know, it's obvious and all this jazz, it's still, them coming to the Hardy compound, you still know they are one of the greatest tag teams that ever were. However, this does go back to, I did have a moment of being a fan again and being like, oh man, the Rock and Roll Express is good, you know, the Hardys, yeah. This is a match you would have loved to have seen in 1998. Personally. Or at least I would have. This is where it goes back to, it really should have been, instead of the Rock and Roll Express's segment, it really should have been the Young Bucks. And I feel like maybe that was probably the original plan, but, you know, it didn't work out, or they decided to Ring of Honor, or whatever the case may be, that the plans did change, that it wasn't who it was supposed to be, that it wasn't the Bucks, and I feel like that's who it was supposed to be. It was supposed to be the Bucks, and they just, for whatever reason, it just didn't work out. And most likely the reason for that is because they're going to do that feud in Ring of Honor, where it's probably going to get more screen time, it's going to be more eyes on it, the more audience is going to see it. I just feel like that's where that's coming from. So, yeah, so Lashley and Edwards have a match that gets speared through the wall, and it just kind of, the Apocalypto starts, and they had a bunch of guys standing outside of Matt's gate waiting to be let in for the Apocalypto, and I'm pretty sure apparently the Decay had infiltrated the house, and Jeff held Crazy Steve under the water and was trying to murder him. Get ready, because this is where there's a lot of murder that tends to happen next. I don't know why, but there's a lot of murder that happens next. So, Jeff tries to drown Crazy Steve, like legitimately, but he pops out of the water and grabs Jeff, very horror movie style, which is one of the favorite things of the show. I really enjoyed the Decay's horror vibe and horror theme, and it really fit them well. It fit the show really well. It was probably one of the better things was the Decay, but it just got a little crazy from there. I don't know, it could have done more to make it stand out. I like the team, everybody showing up to Charlotte. I like Gregory Helms was driving Trevor Lee and Andrew Everett to the Hardy compound, and And they had that segment where it was like, don't go in there, crazy stuff's happening. And they were like, oh, we gotta be part of that apocalypto. It's so different, and it's gonna be a double-edged sword. How much more can you keep this up? How much more can you keep Matt's gimmick going, especially in TNA, to where it doesn't become, like he likes to say, obsolete? Because it feels like right now they're just writing this out and just milking every last piece of, marketability out of it, every piece of potential, every bit of money that they can. And the problem with that is you can milk this until it's empty, but then what do you do after that? This could last so much longer. I feel like the feud with the Decay ended way too quick anyway. So again, this was another thing. It was just jumping back to something. It feels like they jumped back in time 2 months. As if like they had booked this 2 months ago when they first promoted it, and then didn't account for the storyline changes in the meantime because of recording. That's what happens when you don't have a live show. You record all your stuff. So by the time they got to this and recorded this, by the time they probably sat down and decided on it and booked it, all these feuds that had supposedly ended and moved on and were moving on, like Bobby Lashley was supposed to be moving on and moving toward Cody, and Eddie Edwards was supposed to get a new number one contender. And that hasn't happened, and they just ended up with this mess. So, anyway, you got Trevor Lee, Andrew Everett, the Rock and Roll Express, the Broken Hardys, the Decay, and then a lot of indie guys. And right out the gate, like I said, they started out in front of the gate, Crazy Steve and Abyss for the Decay. And there was a lot of people standing out there. There was the Bravado Boys, the Ugly Ducks, Showtime was there. Spud had a partner that he kept boasting about. He was going to have this big guy. He was going to be a big partner, a big deal. I'm pretty sure the first 2 guys that walked through the gate, Crazy Steve snapped his neck. Like, he killed that guy. He murdered that guy on a produced TV show. He murdered a guy. Now, I know most people are going to sit there, especially TNA fans are going to be like, well, I mean, I'm sure you've watched Sons of Anarchy. They kill people on there all the time, and they're not real people. No, but they're also not trying to promote that they're a real biker gang either. This is a wrestling show that's supposed to be building the idea that they're real wrestlers really wrestling. Just a funny thought. You probably might want to snap the guy's neck on TV, because he's probably going to take bookings after this. I know we're not dumb. I know we're all smart, and we all know it's fake now, and you don't need to justify to me that I understand Spider-Man is fake. He can't really climb on walls. He's not a real person. But still, wrestling at its best has always been based in reality. The act of wrestling itself is based in reality. It's based on really wrestling. These moves, most of these moves, if done, a lot of the old school moves, and even some modern of the 90s, if you did them in real life, they would hurt somebody. And they're nowadays with wrestling, these guys try to come up with all these crazy finishers where a lot of them, they just wouldn't do anything at all. There's no danger in taking the move at all. So, but you get a lot of these moves, and some of them are older, like the sharpshooter. Sharpshooter can really hurt if you apply it correctly. The figure 4 fucking hurts if you apply it correctly. I know, I learned the hard way. Because I was a kid and I tried it. I absolutely tried this at home, so you can shut up, WWE. And the figure 4 hurts, and I could completely understand how Ric Flair made so many people tap out to it. Because I tried to put it on. I put it on backwards, and I ended up in the victim position, and it hurt. We will not talk of this ever again. That's beside the point. Crazy Steve killed a guy. He snapped his neck. Snapped it. Killed him. Murdered a guy. The Showtime even acknowledged it. They're like, that dude dead. And I'm sitting there like, that dude dead. Dude is dead. D-E-D, dead. I know that's not right. It's a joke. Calm down. Relax. Don't lambaste me on Twitter. Then, the Ugly Ducklings show up. And for those that don't know, these guys are out of the Tennessee area, but they take bookings in the Carolinas. I'm sure they take some bookings in Georgia. But they're a really fun tag team on the indie scene. Really like these guys. And pretty soon, actually really soon, we're going to have a member of the Ducklings on Shooting with Eric Stanton. As a matter of fact, we're set to record within the next week, actually. So you can expect the first guest of Shooting with Eric Stanton will be on in the coming week. So stay tuned for that. We've talked about it. We're going to set up recording date. Then we're going to get that done and we'll have our first guest. And we'll talk about the Total Deletion, their road on the indies, and as well as, other like plans for 2017, any more appearances for TNA, working with his Broken Brilliance himself, that kind of stuff. So we'll get into all that, but that'll be for another show and another time in the near future. And I do have some more lined up for down the line. 2017 is going to be a big year for me. I've spoken to some names. We've got some people on the list, so that's exciting. So keep an eye out. We're gonna have some players here real soon off the indie scene that we're gonna talk to, and I'm really excited about all that. And I'm happy that these guys, or at least one of these guys for sure, is going to be the first guest of Eric Stanton, or Shooting with Eric Stanton. So that's really good stuff. Something to really look forward to in the future moving forward. But anyway, they popped up doing the quack thing, which I love. I absolutely love it. They have the old Mighty Ducks mask, and they've kind of got them faded, and I love everything about it. Just good stuff. It's just wonderful. So they showed up. They get eliminated a lot quicker than I really would have liked, but that's a bias because I'm a big fan of these guys. So that was sad, but it was at least good to see them there. It was nice to see some indie guys getting noticed. Showtime were up next. They got eliminated. Rockstar Spud's partner finally shows up. It's Hornswoggle. It's Swoggle, whatever you want to, whatever he's calling himself now. It's him. Everything just breaks down from here. Gregory Helms gets knocked into the Lake of Reincarnation, and it produces a knockoff 3 count. Apparently, they couldn't get Shannon Moore and the other guy, and Evan Courageous. So, yeah, no. And then, so you got them doing 3 count with Andrew Everett and Trevor Lee, which is, I guess, I don't know. I guess that's what he meant by contracts will be broken. But I mean, Gangrel still does Gangrel on the indies, so I mean, I don't think WWE's too worried about 3 count showing up. Spud pins the Bravado Boys, who managed to have gotten away from the Decay, so that's good. The Road Warrior shows up and talks some trash. DCC shows up, but they get defeated by the Decay, which is really weird because they're like really trying to build these guys. They're just debuting on Impact over the last month and feuding with the Hardys. They get there and almost immediately get, so like he showed up with like a whole bunch of other like the anonymous type guys. He's got like 25 of them or something, and one of the random ones, not even a wrestler, gets pinned and they're eliminated that way. It was funny for a second, and then it was kind of like, well, it kind of craps on the guys. I don't know. I wasn't feeling that. But then again, it is Matt Hardy's, tag team Apocalypto. But still, I would have liked to have seen the workers get featured more. It just felt like a whole bunch of like one-shot cameo scenes. I don't know. It was funny. It was funny. I'll give it that. It was funny. The guys fight their way up toward the volcano, the Decay, the Hardys, Lashley and Eddie Edwards show up still fighting, apparently. The volcano explodes. The hurricane shows up from a volcano. Okay, I guess. Sure, why not? Crazy Steve is thrown into the volcano, so I'm to believe that Crazy Steve is no, he's not dead? No? He's gonna be there next. Okay. So they threw him in the... No. I'm remembering that? No, it happened. It happened. But he's not dead. So he's going to be on TV. But he's... Okay. Alright. Crazy Steve was thrown in the volcano and he lived. because he's a monster. We're going to go with that. He's a horror movie monster, and that's what we're going with. It's our story, and we're sticking to it. But he absolutely got thrown in the volcano. There was a whole bunch of laughing going on when I watched this. I was amused. There's not one thing if there's one positive thing I can say about it, it was funny. It was amusing. It was good to see guys that I knew, that I recognized. I was really happy to see some of these guys get attention, get on TV. But it just goes back to, where were the Young Bucks? Where were the Briscoes? You know, it was just the TNA roster, a couple indie guys that you have to be in their territory to know who they are. They really failed on their commitment that they were going to bring in all these people, and they didn't bring in anyone. I mean, it was nice to see indie guys, don't get me wrong. I'm very happy that Showtime was there. I'm happy that the Ugly Ducklings were there. I'm happy that the Bravado Boys had significant airtime, but DCC didn't get utilized very much, if at all. James Storm, it was just really kind of there as a joke spot, cameo, which was sad. And I do still feel like there was a lot of missed potential here. It was good, it was entertaining, it was funny, I laughed, but I feel like it could have been so much more. I still feel like they need to start promoting out of North Carolina. They need to move to that area where that audience is just, they're fine, they're there. There was also a moment on the show where Vanguard won challenge. The caption said when he was thrown out, he had a caption that said, "This is BS AF," which, for those, I already cussed on this episode. This is bullshit as fuck, and I laughed my ass off. I thought that was hilarious. It was probably one of the funniest moments of the night for me. Rebby and Matt Hardy recently announced, very deletion style, at their volcano, they announced that they are having their second baby boy, so congrats to them. But it goes back to missed potential, could have been better, didn't utilize their talent correctly or their resources. This is one of the more highly produced shows that they've done. I feel like the amount of money they spent on pyro and this, that, and the other for this could have went to other means. Could have made, I don't know. They could have done better with. At this point, they're just throwing anything at the wall, and whatever sticks. So that's my opinion on the total deletion. It was funny. I laughed. I had fun. I enjoyed myself. I won't sit there and say like, oh, it was one of the best wrestling. It's revolutionizing wrestling. It's evolutionizing wrestling. It's not. It was funny. I got laughs from it, but I still sat there and felt that it could have been better. I feel like they really dropped the ball in saying that all these people were going to be here. Nobody was there. That's ultimately where I stand with the total deletion. Promises were made and you didn't come through with it. And I have a big thing about, if you say you're going to do something, then you need to do it. So if you say you're going to have all these people, then you need to really have somebody. And the Hurricane and 3 count was not enough. I'm sorry. That was not doing it for me. So, other news that happened recently, that just because I know, again, I have missed like a month of NXT, but the American Alpha recently won the tag team titles on SmackDown. Kind of odd, not on a pay-per-view, weird, but okay, still, congrats to those guys, great workers. Kind of confused why the Wyatts lost on live TV, or not live, I guess it's SmackDown Live now, yes, that didn't make sense to me. Tommy N is going to be debuting on NXT soon, or has debuted, or is about to debut. Like I said, I haven't seen the last month, so I don't know if he has, but I really like Tommy N. I'm a big Tommy N fan. I'm really excited to see him in NXT. Really excited for 2017 with that guy involved. So, good stuff. I think Ty Dillinger is going to show up at the Royal Rumble. I hope it happens. I really want to see him get that shot. I'd like to see him pop up. I feel like that would be the perfect place for a little teaser to see if the main roster crowd is behind him, and if they are, then move him over to SmackDown. And he's been kind of having a little Twitter feud with The Miz, So you got to find out if you're going to get something out of this guy or not. Either you're going to make money off of him or you're not. So it's time to find out, and Royal Rumble is that time. So I'm still calling Finn Balor to win, but let's get to fan questions because I'm running low on bullets. I think I got one bullet left. Lorenzo and Austin, what do you think will happen with TNA Creative? I mean, they'll hire somebody. They'll put somebody in there. You know, Dave Lagana's gone, but they'll put somebody in there. There's been a lot of talk about Matt having more say in the company, so which is not the worst thing. I'm kind of interested to see what Matt clearly has some say with what happens with the company right now, so we'll see where that goes. But they'll move somebody in there. Next question. Did you hear that Anthem has been meeting with Jeff Jarrett about TNA? Marcus in Seattle. I have read that report. I don't know if it's true. If it is, that's good for TNA. I like Jeff. I like Jeff as a booker. I like Jeff as a promoter. I think he has a very smart mind. I liked TNA a lot more when he was in charge of it. So hopefully it's true. That would be a lot better for the company, in my opinion. Michael in Georgia, who would you focus on in TNA for 2017? Like as a top guy? Oh, Eddie's solid. You just need somebody to face him. You're supposedly moving on from Bobby Lashley. You brought Cody in, and he's kind of a baby feuding with Thing, and I really feel like they missed the ball there because the way Ring of Honor turned him heel was genius and glorious, and it was amazing. I feel like you missed the ball there. I think turning Aaron Rex heel was the wrong decision. I think making Cody the top as the top baby is a bad decision because you got plenty of those guys. I think you really needed a home run hitter heel, and Cody was your guy. So that's just me. What do I know? I'm just sitting here talking about it instead of booking it. Terry in Tampa, is WWE following a WCW format of ratings, meaning more than pay-per-view buys? Yeah, I don't think they care about the pay-per-view buys anymore. I think it's more the as long as the live event ticket sales. Because I mean, at this point, if they're not selling out their pay-per-views, they're doing like 90-95%, so it's making a profit. It's not like they're losing money at all. They're making their money back on the network. Last year I'd heard that they were over the 1 million subscribers, so I mean at $9.99 that's a lot of money. At $10 a pop for 1 million subscribers, that's a lot of money. So it's not like they're losing money. But anyway, that's I'm out of bullets for this week. Follow me on Twitter.com #ShootEricShoot, Instagram.com #ShootStantonShoot, Facebook.com #ShootStantonShoot, ShootStantonShoot.wordpress.com for my occasional blogs, and be sure to follow Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast on Twitter. And you can also find us on iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, YouTube, and Stitcher. The guys over on the main show, Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast, have been doing some YouTube shows, actually with a camera, so check out the YouTube channel. Make sure you watch that, because they've been putting up some recorded, visual footage of them doing their show, which is nice. It's good stuff. So make sure you check that out. But it looks like I'm out of bullets, so it's time to reload. See you all next week.